I watched over 200 Booktubers' best videos. It may have been too much. We are monsters. We give and we take. Editing Rainey here to say, if you hear my kids throughout different parts of this clip, I'm sorry, but like, I have children. I'm not going to apologize for it. You might hear them. And that's the end of this update. Today's video has been a very long time in the making. It has taken me basically a little over a month to complete this journey. And what is this journey? We are reading Booktubers' best video, not videos, Booktubers' best books. And this was drastically inspired by two people. Books and Lala was the first person that I'd seen really doing this, and she has her own very unique way of doing it. I will definitely link to her videos under here because they're awesome. And then Katie Colson had her way of doing it last year where she shared like the top 26 books that people were reading, and she shared it from the booktuber's perspective. Absolutely loved it. I'm going to link to that video under here as well because it is fabulous. You should give it more love. And then I came up with my own fun, unique take on reading Booktubers' best books because I want to know what the best books are out there, just like I'm sure you probably do. And so this is how I decided to do it. I basically went through and I watched 211 Booktuber best videos. Yes, I did. From the dates of December 20th to January 8th. That was my cutoff date. Basically, every day I would just type in Booktuber's best books and watch whatever new ones popped up for the day. I would like go, scroll through until like I saw a book, wrote it down. Saw a book, wrote it down. Except for in some cases, some people made it really easy by like time stamping so that I was able to just look at a list of books and go, oh, okay, these are their ones. Some of them just had like an honorable mention section and a best book section. And so that was really easy. But if you ended up putting your best and your worst books together in a video and there were no timestamps and some of you weren't even holding up books, then like you didn't make it to the list. I'm sorry. I don't have that much time to dedicate to sit and watch your video. Like, let's give me some help next time. I would put it in a spreadsheet. I would put who recommended it, and then I would put a link to their channel so that I could find them later on if I needed to tag them. And I also put a checkmark box of did I read it or not, and I'm going to explain why I did that in just a little bit, just also so I know what books I've read that are most popular. After that, I alphabetized the books A through Z, and I basically went through and counted how many times each book was mentioned, which yes, that took 1,000,001 hours as well. And after that, I basically went from this book was mentioned once all the way to this book was mentioned like 40 plus times to see which were considered the best books of BookTube. And my goal was to read the top 5 books that I had not read yet. The top 4, I have a specific way of picking them. The last one, I have a specific way of picking them. And so that I did. So what you're going to see in this next clip is I figured you would want to know what books are being shared though so that you can get book ideas. And so I am sharing, popping up different pictures of like all the different books and like how many times they were mentioned. However, if a book was mentioned 1 or 2 times, you're not going to see it because there were so many of those books. I did not have time to like make a Canva spreadsheet or a Canva picture for them. I just didn't. So 3 books and beyond, you will see. From 3 to 4, you're only going to see the names of the books. 5 to 9, you're going to see the pictures of the books. And then 10 up, you're going to see the picture of the book, but also the booktubers that recommended it because like that's where a book is getting widely more recommended. And maybe you want to know like, oh, if I've read that book and really enjoyed it, then maybe these booktubers have the same taste as me and you would want to like try out their new channels, right? Which I will say, I linked every single booktuber that you see a cameo from later on in this video. So just stick around for that. But let's dive in and show you all of the data, and then we'll talk about what books I'm reading for this actual video itself. But like we have obviously big ones like A Court of Silver Flames, A Day of Fallen Night. I saw As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow a couple times, Big Swift, which came out this year, Chain Gang All Stars, I don't know, Death in Her Hands, Echoes of You, Jade Lacey, Magnolia Parks, Mexican Gothic, Remarkably Bright Creatures, Red Rising, The Last Devil to Die, The Wall of Stories, things like that, okay? That was to be expected. Then we're going to move on to books that were mentioned 4 times. We're starting to get significantly less, but still a lot, so I'll only call out a couple that I see, like A Dowry of Blood, Archer's Voice, Beach Read, Cackle, the Chestnut Springs series as a whole. There were a lot of them that were linked as series, and I like separated between series that were mentioned and specific books from the series. Finlay Donovan, Ghost Eaters, which I was surprised I saw a couple of times, Happiness Falls, Mother Thing, Out on a Limb, Piranesi, Sword Catcher, The Graham Effect, Nestlings, which is a brand new book, so that's pretty awesome for it. Then we get to books that were mentioned 5 times, and that's when I actually started sharing the covers, and I will go through all these books really quick. We have Alone with You in the Ether, Any Man, Book Lovers, Bright Young Women, Chain of Thorns, Chlorine, Daisy Jones and the Six, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, 5 Survive, Forget Me Not, Hello Stranger, Legend Born, Lessons in Chemistry, Notes on an Execution, One True Loves, 7 Days in June, Still Beating, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, The Bodyguard, A Tale of the Flower Bride, September House, Tyranny of Faith, We Spread, and Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So these books we're starting to get more and more recommended. And then we get to mention 6 times, and we're starting to get less because obviously these are starting to become like the cream of the crop, right? We have A Court of Thorns and Roses, Binding 13, Butcher and Blackbird, Caught Up, Half a Soul, Hellbent, Yumi the Nightmare Painter, Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, Ignite Me, Lightbringer, Love Redesigned, Mary, and Wildfire. So it was very interesting because a lot of these are like on my list that I want to read, and then also I just haven't gotten to yet, right? Then we get to mention 7 times where we have A Study in Drowning, Better Than the Movies, How to Sell a Haunted House, Icebreaker, The Wishing Game, I'm Glad My Mom Died, Manacled, that was surprising, Monstrilio, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and Our Wives Under the Sea. Then we get to 8 times, and this is where I actually start sharing who shared these with you. So I mentioned 8 times was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and it was mentioned by all of these fabulous creators. I'm not going to shout them out specifically, but you can just take a look really quick, but this one was mentioned 8 times. We have another book that was mentioned 8 times, which was The Writing Retreat, and it was mentioned by all different types of people, Ashley Little Library, Ola Books, Gabby Reads, you know, all those people. Then we have You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I was surprised that was mentioned 8 times because it's such a new release. But then again, it's a When Harry Met Sally type of romance, so I'm not honestly that surprised. Then we get to 9 times mentioned, and we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, which, of course, that's going to be on here. R.F. Kuang is fabulous. I'm sure you will see another book of theirs coming up also as well that came out this year. We also have Heartless by Elsie Silver, which is personally my favorite in the Chestnut Springs series so far that I have read, so I definitely stand by these people and their recommendation. Another one that was mentioned 9 times is Magnolia Parks, which we know is my baby, the creme de la creme, so I think all of these people have exceptionally exquisite taste. Another one that was mentioned 9 times is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty, and I'm very excited to read to this one day because I do love a good pirate fantasy. Another one is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. Of course, this series was recommended as a whole, but this book specifically was mentioned so many times because everyone says it's their favorite in the series, so I definitely need to prioritize it soon. Then we get to Win in Rome by Sarah Adams. I was actually surprised that this popped up as much as it did and that the Practice Make Perfect one didn't do as much as this one, but here you go. The first one that's mentioned 10 times is the Mind F series, and this is where I actually start to share some like booktubers that have mentioned this, and the only people that I knew on here before this was The Reading Wren, Riley Marie, Sarah Without an H, Victoria's Romance Reads, Faith Reading Things, and Just Allie. I had never heard of the other 4, so I was also getting to meet new booktubers, which I think is super awesome. Then we have mentioned 10 times The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which I really enjoyed this book, and on this list, I only knew Ashley's Little Library and Jordaline. That was it. So that was really awesome. I met so many people through this then. Then we have The Will of the Many by James Islington, which I thought I was going to have to read for a hot minute, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I knew Books with Brittany, Peruseproject, Jack and the Book Stack, Danni Dabbles, Covers with Cassidy, Melanor Reads, and Fun Fantasy Books. Mentioned 10 times also was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Not surprised. And on this one, I knew Destiny Sidwell and Sara Carolli, Rachel Catherine, and Covers with Cassidy, and that was it. Mentioned 10 times also was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I loved that book. It was in my top 10 of the year. And I knew Taryn Lee Reads, Stephanie Bookish, Steph Loves, Liv's Library, Ashley's Little Library, and Sarah Without an H. Mentioned 11 times was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I also really enjoyed that book. I know that's a hot take. And as far as I knew on here, all I knew was Liv's Library, Faith Reading Things, and Sara Carolli. But that's really awesome that I knew less people than there are on here. Mentioned 11 times was Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. I loved this, but not nearly as much as my friends did. And we have on here, we had Books with Lexi, Brittany Loves Reading, Chandler Ainsley, Gabby Reads, and Haley Pham. So I knew half of them. We also have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. I gave this a 3-star. That's all we're going to say about this. And on this list, I knew Ola Books and Megwithbooks and Peruseproject. And 11 times is Project Hail Mary by Andy Ware. I knew Sarah Without an H and Ravenhairedreader, so I didn't know almost any of the people that recommended this book. And so I was really going to go in blindly if I was going to read this book, because I have not read this yet. Then we have mentioned 11 times Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I loved this book. It was fantastic. I only knew Destiny Sidwell and Haley Pham from this one. Mentioned 12 times The Right Move by Liz Tomford, as it should, because it is a fabulous book. Loved it so much. And I knew Chandler Ainsley, Larry Reads, That Tall Book Girl, Sam Reads a Little, The Book Refuge, Victoria's Romance Reads, and Christy Reads a Lot. Then we have Reckless by Elsie Silver, which was mentioned 12 times. I haven't gotten to this one yet. I'm currently on Powerless, but I knew Oh Hey It's McKay, Sara Carolli, A Novel Life, Sam Reads a Little, and Peace Love Books, and Victoria's Romance Reads. Then we get to Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, and this one was just okay for me. It was a 3-star. As far as people I knew on this list, all I knew was Rachel Catherine, Kara's Bookshelf, and Haley Pham. Then we have Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandy Sandy. I was expecting this to be on here fully. I knew Megwithbooks, Murphy Napier, Peruseproject, Syd Syd Bookworrom, and Alexandra Roselyn. Mentioned 16 times my favorite book of the year, my baby, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. All of these people are fabulous. You should follow all of them because they have exceptional taste. But on this one, I knew Literary Sahara, Covers with Cassidy, Sara Carolli, Happily Ever April, and A Novel Life, Liv's Library, and Melanor Reads. Mentioned 16 times is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I was not shocked by this, honestly. Was not shocked even a little bit. I knew Riley Marie, Books and Lala, SarawithoutanH, Alexandra Roselyn, Kristin Kraves Books, Withcindy, Katie is Reading, and Rachel Catherine and Danni Dabbles. Mentioned 18 times was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I also read this, really enjoyed it. It was a 4.5 stars for me. On this one, all that I knew was Destiny Sidwell, Sara Carolli, and Katie is Reading. So I met so many people because of this book. And we have 19 times The 7-Year Slip. I started this book. It was fan-freaking-tastic. And on this list, I knew Christy Reads a Lot, Chandler Ainsley, Gabby Reads, Haley Pham, Destiny Sidwell, Just Allie, Sara Carolli, and Deja's Book World, and A Novel Life. Mentioned 23 times was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I was expecting this as well. I loved this book. Gave it a 5 stars. I read a lot of the top books of the year, which was actually really, really awesome to see. And on this one, I knew Katie Coulson, Kara's Bookshelf, Four Paws in a Book, Literary Sahara, A Book Fiend Named Mel, Chandler Ainsley, Gabby Reads, Ravenhairedreader, and Jack and the Book Stack. So I also got to meet a lot of new booktubers through this one as well. Mentioned 24 times was Happy Place. If this was not on here, I would have been shocked. I thought this was okay. I think I gave it a 3 star. On this, I knew Haley Pham, Destiny Sidwell, A Clockwork Rita, Sara Carolli, and Rachel Catherine. So I hardly knew anybody on this list either, which honestly makes me excited. Mentioned 31 times was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I loved this book. I know the end of this book trope doesn't work for everyone. Worked for me. I knew Ravenhairedreader, Taryn Lynn Reads, Liv's Library, Haley in Bookland, Ginger Snap Reads, Christy Reads a Lot, Sara Carolli, Chandler Ainsley, Destiny Sidwell, and Rachel Catherine. And then, of course, the book that was mentioned the most, 38 times, is Fourth Wing. It also was mentioned just as many times in Worst Book of the Year, but nonetheless, this is Fourth Wing. And on here, I knew Honest Fiction, Steph Loves, A Novel Life, Liv's Library, Covers with Cassidy, Melanor Reads, Peace Love Books, Literary Sahara, Victoria's Romance Reads, Ginger Snapped Reads, Just Allie, and Tori Between Pages. So I met so many people on this one as well. So it's not a shock, though. That Fourth Wing was at the top. So now you're probably like, okay, Rainey, but like, what books are you reading for this vlog? I'm so glad you asked. So I basically just went backwards from the most mentioned book and on. So since I'd already read Fourth Wing, Yours Truly, Happy Place, Yellowface, 7-Year Slip, and Love Theoretically, the first book that was mentioned 16 times that I had not read yet that I'm going to be reading for this vlog is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I will say I've been very excited to read this. I've been feeling the FOMO to read this because I know that the second book comes out. I think it's already come out by the time that this video is being released. So I am intrigued. Then after that, I had already read Serpent and the Wings of the Night. So then the next book that had been mentioned 13 times that, I'm not going to lie, I was very excited to get to read this, is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I have never read a Brandy Sandy book, so I'm very excited to get to try it here. I know that this writing is a little bit different than what he normally writes from, but it's Princess Bride-esque inspired, so could not be more excited that this made the list. Then we get down to Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, which I'd already read and mentioned 12 times, which I'm so excited that I also get to read this book, is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I have read Flawless and Heartless, and I'm in the middle of Powerless right now, but since I already know all the main characters and I know the relationships and stuff, I figure it's okay to dive into this before I finish Powerless. I'm very excited for this. It has an accidental baby trope though. We're gonna have to see how it's done. Then after that, we have The Right Move, which I'd already read. Carrie Soto is back, and so mentioned 11 times, which honestly, I don't know when I ever would have read this book if it wasn't for this video, is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I've had this on my shelf for years, and I've just never picked it up, and so, Rainey, you can't deny it anymore. It's in your imminent future. And I decided for the last one, I didn't know what to read, but I had already read Legends and Lattes, and I'd already read None of This Is True, and I'd already read The Only One Left. So then I had all the books that were mentioned 10 times. Part of Your World, which I'd already read, The Last Word, which I'd already read, Powerless by Lauren Roberts, The Will of the Many by James Islington, and the Mind F series by S.T. Abbey. So I figured what I was going to do from there was first going to put up a poll on Instagram. I let it run for a day, basically saying choose the book, and y'all didn't know that you were voting for this vlog. And of course, it was a back and forth race between Powerless and the Mind F series. Sorry, The Will of the Many got lost in the dust. And at the end, Mind F series did reign overall, which I was expecting. However, I had decided I was going to move it into a serial killer vlog because I was reading There Are No Saints this month and Butcher and Blackbird. And so I figured this would be better to put in the serial killer vlog. So like, I'm still going to read that. Don't you worry, your pretty little head. But then after that, I decided, okay, well, Powerless was going to be the next one. So, but before I finally decided that, I decided to also look at my spreadsheet one more time and look at all of the booktubers that, you know, I watched and see which booktuber I had read the most books with on their best books list that I agreed with. Not just if we read like the same amount of books, like let's say I read 13 books off a booktuber's best list and I only liked 5 of theirs, like they're not in sync with me. And so the person that I had read 11 books off of their list that I actually loved those 11 books was Charlotte Robbins' Booktube. And so then I decided to go back to her video and see, I was going to read whatever her top book ended up being. And it was Fourth Wing. But the second one was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. So obviously it's meant to be. I'm reading Powerless. And I'm very excited because I've had FOMO on this as well. Everyone is saying this is such a fun YA fantasy romance. And I'm in my romantasy era if we didn't know that. So like, I'm ready to have a good time. So with that, one more time, the 5 books that you will see me reading within this vlog are Powerless, Project Hail Mary, Reckless, Tress of the Emerald Sea, and Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So with that, we are just going to get started. And instead of me explaining what each book is about, you're going to see some maybe familiar faces explain to you why their favorite book is in this favorites book video. So let's dive in by reading the very first book, which is going to be
Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book follows an astronaut who wakes up randomly in a spaceship.
But he has no memories. He's like, why am I here?
He has no memory of himself, and he's in a room with his other like co-workers, I guess, but they're all like, and he doesn't know why, he doesn't know what's going on. And we're basically just following him along as he's trying to work out what he needs to do to get back home.
And the whole time he's kind of just trying to piece together what's happened.
And it eventually comes to the realization that like he has to save the world.
And as the story progresses, we start to question whether Ryland is really alone out in space.
But he also meets some extraterrestrial being, and you just follow their story.
In this book, we also do jump between different timelines. So we go back in time to see our main character's life on Earth and sort of what led him on this expedition that he's on.
This is about real world, real Earth science and what it might do in the future.
And this book was such a surprise for me.
This was a huge surprise to me. I did not know that I was going to love this so much.
What was so amazing about this book is that, again, Andy Weir is combining actual science with science fiction, which I love.
The science bits in this story felt pretty accessible to me, like they weren't too over my head to the point where I got really frustrated with it.
And the thing about it is, if you like science, then this is great because like the science is really, really tangible and it's really fun because you get to kind of dive into the fun, interesting things with science, but it's very easy to understand. So like, you'll like it because it's sciencey but easy to understand science, if that makes sense.
It takes science as we know it today and makes it do things that are still impossible. And I believe it.
And it's just like thrilling and amazing, and like it keeps your brain working because there's actual science behind some of this stuff.
I love Andy Weir's writing so much. He is so funny. He creates so much heart with his characters, but then also creates these amazingly complex plot lines, and they're just so full of action and adventure, and I had so much fun reading this book.
It's filled with action. It's filled with so much love as well between different people, and it's so freaking funny as well. There's so many sentences in here that just literally made me laugh out loud.
But it was also very humorous and terrifying. Like, I just felt like I was in space with him. We had our astronaut suits on and we were trying to figure this thing out, okay? I was on the computer. He was trying out different equations and stuff. We were together in that spaceship.
But what I need you to know is that one of the characters in this book is literally one of my favorite characters of all time. I would literally die for them.
I have said a million times, I will always die for Rocky. He is everything to me.
I would lay my life down for this character, and if you know, you know.
The audiobook is 100% the best way to read this book. The way that that was produced was just amazing. The voice acting.
I actually remember listening to the audiobook while reading this one, and I think it just added to the story. Like, you know, sometimes audiobooks, they're just kind of reading to you and they're not really like getting into the story. I think this narrator really did enhance the overall experience for me, while also helping me get through those scientific moments that I didn't understand.
This book made me cry. This book made me laugh. It made me smile. It has a perfect ending that I honestly couldn't have wanted anything more from.
It's just a really, really good book. I also cried a little bit. It's a good time.
You should definitely read this book. It is such an adventure. I absolutely loved it.
This book is why I love being a reader. This book really represents that for me and is 100% my best book of 2023.
Okay, y'all, ignore how I look because, like, this is not our best moment, okay? But I'm reading, so I figured I would pop in. I am 55 pages into Project Hail Mary, and I don't foresee or understand the hype with this book. I'm going to keep going for now because it's not terrible, but there is so much scientific jargon that is going absolutely over my head. Like, it really pulls me out of the story. It makes me feel how sci-fi this is, and I'm just not a sci-fi girly. But I want to know why everybody loved this book. Why Chandler Ainsley named it almost her best book of the year. Like, I have to know because that's a romance girly, okay? Like, what about this book made you absolutely love it? Because right now it's just all right, but I'm not feeling that loving 5-star feeling. So we're going to keep going. I'll check back in at about 100 pages because that's where I'm stopping for the night. I just need to get to my 100 page count. So I have about 50 pages left. Hoping I have a different answer for you soon. Good morning, friends. We are having a day. We are having a day, okay? I don't think I said in this video or not, but I got in a car crash like 2 days ago. My neck is in a lot of pain. They didn't tell me to wear a brace. And the only reason I'm at work is because I have 1 sick day left off for the entire rest of the year. Yes, you heard that right. I've had to use them all already for my children and myself because we have all been super duper sick. So I didn't want to take my last day off because yes, I get more days off after this, but they're unpaid and I just need to keep my paid days if I can. Okay. So anyway, I'm in a lot of pain. My son peed the bed this morning, which never happens. Don't know why, but he was in our bed last night. So he peed our bed. So that was fun. It was just a whole whirlwind of events. But I wanted to tell you that I'm on page 102 of oh my gosh, I can't say the word, of Project Hail Mary. I have kept the dust jacket at home just because it's easier so I don't get it messed up. And I still don't know how I feel about this. This book is so sciencey. I asked my brother about it because this is like his favorite book of all time, this and The Martian. And he said that this one is way less sciencey than The Martian, which made me go, okay, I'm never reading The Martian. But like, it's like I'm intrigued enough that like I want to know what's happening, but I'm also not intrigued, if you know what I mean. Like, I can follow along enough. Like, he does a good job at letting you still know what's going on, even when you don't understand half of the jargon in this book. I just don't know if I care enough, is the problem. And I still want to know what is the magic crack in this that makes everybody say that this is like one of their favorite books ever. But we're going to give it our best try, and we're going to keep going. I will try to update you maybe every 100 pages, let you know how it's going, because this book is almost 500 pages. I honestly need to make a really big dent in it today, because I'm also, Winterween has started today, so I need to start on Winterween, but I also need to be like reading these books interspersed all throughout. So we'll see what we get to, but that is my update as of now. Okay, I know I said I was going to update every 150 pages, or every 100 pages. Sorry, also the light is like very crazy in my classroom right now. I'm getting ready to go home for the weekend, but I am now 150 pages in this book, so I'm about 30% into this book. Y'all, why do people love this book? Is there something I'm missing? Like, is there something I'm missing? Everyone says that this book is hilarious and that it's so cute and warm-hearted, and like, I don't think it's funny. It's not, it's like sad, and he's not a very comical main character so far. I feel like I'm eating my words, or I'm gonna be eating my words because everyone just loves this book, but like, I need you to tell me why. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm not mad, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what I'm missing. Like, good morning, friends. Hanging out with the babe. Excuse my terrible hair. I'm coming on to say, I really want to DNF this book. I am 50% in, and I'm so bored. Now, I will say, I love Rocky. Rocky the alien, we stan. But we don't get too much time with him. I do love that the way he communicates is through music. Lincoln's trying to, like, use the remote to put on whatever video he wants. I'm ready to DNF because I just don't like him. I only like Rocky. I like the music communication part, but that's all that's really got going for it. But we spend so much time in other flashbacks and scientific jargon, and I am just not vibing. This might be where this is not a book for me, and it's for so many others, but it might not be for me. I'm going to go until 60%, and if I still hate my life, I'm quitting. You heard it here first. Well, I have something to say because I am 66% into this book, and this is mildly a spoiler, so I'm going to say one sentence, and if you don't want to hear that sentence, mute me for like 5 seconds. If you kill off this Rocky alien, the only thing that I like in this book, I will murder you all. I will murder this author. I will come personally for you, Andy Ware. Do you hear me? Okay, spoiler over. I'm still not loving this book. I've got this much left. I have about 170 pages. I am just forcing myself to sit down and finish this book, or else I will never finish this book, and I want to be done with it so I can move on to other books in this experiment. But I am a Rocky stan. We stan Rocky. No, all my updates are like wild and crazy for this, so like just ignore me. It's been raining. My hair is a mess. I'm 82% into this book, and we have to talk. There was a huge plot twist that just happened, and while this book is still shaping up to most likely be a 3-star, I am still very intrigued. If you hear TV in the background, I apologize. But yeah, this was not what I was expecting. Let's just say, I don't know what to say, but I was not expecting what happened just now. Let's proceed. All right, friends, coming to you with Eloise and the final update for Project Hail Mary. And I don't want to say my rating. It's a 3-star. It's a 3-star. Okay? It's a generous 3-star. More to me, it was like a 2.5. But okay, let's talk about this though. I get why people love this book, okay? I do understand. It's a very well-written book. It can be lighthearted. I also am obsessed with Rocky, and honestly, I really, really, really enjoyed the ending, like I did. But all of those things aside, I can't get past a lot of the fact that the science was just too jargony. It was just, I found were boring. The only parts that I really enjoyed was when Rocky was in it, and Rocky wasn't even in it for like a lot of the book. So like, I just have to accept that this is not a book for me. This is a book for a lot of people that were not expecting it to be a book for them, but alas, this is not a book for me. But I do understand the hype. I do understand why so many people put this in their best books of the year. Like, I do recognize that, like, this is a good book, okay? I see a good book. I know a good book. It just wasn't for me. And so I'm going to put it as a 3-star, which means I would still recommend this book to people. But it just was not a book that I can stand behind saying that I love with my whole chest like everybody else. That's okay though. So that's what we think of our first book of the vlog. So now we are going to dive into book number 2, which is going to be
Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first secret project that Brandon put out this year. Brandon Sanderson often describes this book as like The Princess Bride, but written from Buttercup's point of view.
The story itself kind of almost feels like you're being told a bedtime story, which I really, really enjoyed a lot.
It's a nautical-esque adventure.
Tress follows our main character, Tress. Wouldn't you know it?
Who lives on this sort of like rock island.
And she's really had no interest leaving her home for any reason.
Tress is just like an average person. Technically Charlie is too. Charlie is apparently like really boring in real life, but Tress loves talking to Charlie and they end up kind of like becoming friends.
She falls in love with the Duke's son, but the Duke is not having it. He will have no part in his son falling in love with this lowly girl.
However, one day the Duke decides that Charlie needs to go and be married, so he is sent off on a ship
and he doesn't return.
Then news comes back.
The boy, the man that she loves, is stolen by this evil witch.
He gets kidnapped.
She decides to venture out into the wide world to try to save the love of her life, but also kind of discover herself along the way.
And Tress decides, you know what? I'm gonna save my man.
The princess goes to save the day.
And along the way, she teams up with some pirates. She has some self-discovery, some internal revelations, makes new friends, great relationship dynamics.
However, in doing so, she has to cross the Spore Sea, which is the main aspect of this book that made it so interesting. There are multiple different seas, and they're called Spore Seas because when the spores are like active, it's like insta-death. If you get touched by a spore, you're gone. And that's why people aren't really allowed to leave the island that Tress lives on because it's so dangerous to traverse through the Spore Seas.
Beautiful, well-told, pleasant. I love Tress. I love the adventure she went on. I love her family. I love her crewmates and her friends and Charlie.
It is beautiful and surprising because I did not expect Brandon Sanderson could write something as whimsical and also reminiscent of Terry Pratchett's like the one that is told in Tress of the Emerald Sea.
There's these great characters. There's a deaf character who writes on this like magical tablet. There's a talking rat. Love the talking rat. And this just had such a lovely tone to it.
The second strength, and in my opinion, the biggest strength of this is the characters. All of the characters were super likable. There were characters in this book that had such minimal roles, like a paragraph in the entire story, and I cared so much about their outcome, what happened, everything.
This is a standalone, and it's a Cosmere novel. So you get to introduce yourself to Brandon Sanderson's writing without committing to a series, and you introduce yourself to this larger world that a lot of his books take place in, the Cosmere.
So I feel like a lot of times in adult fantasy, it's really hard to just find wholesome stories because it's all about, you know, dark, evil magic and wars and killing other people. And there's just a lot of heavy stuff that can be in fantasy. And Brandon just crafted a story that was all about a girl who is trying to find and save the guy that she loves. Like, it was so darn cute.
I feel like this is a great fantasy because it's beginner friendly. I feel like it has these great world building concepts in a small, easy to digest package.
This book feels like a book written outside of the pressures of trends in the book world and pressure of what fans are going to think of it and like having to live up to a previous book. This just felt like a book written for the love of writing.
This book makes me happy just thinking about it.
I love the fairy tale nature. I love that it was a different style for Sanderson. It was just a lovely story, and that's what I needed at the time. Kind of like a cup of hot cocoa.
I thought it was just a wonderful, wonderful little book.
I started Tress of the Emerald Sea last night and I'm only 12% in. I am loving it. I love the way that it is told. Like Alexandra said, that it's told like a bedtime story to you. I honestly feel like I'm in the Princess Bride movie with the grandpa like reading the story to me. Like that's how I feel. The narrator is fantastic. The audiobook is gold. I found it on Hoopla, so that was a bonus. I am just loving this story. I love Charlie. I love Tress. I'm just very excited to see where it is. So I'm at the part where she's just decided that she's going to leave and her parents are like, oh, is this a good idea? And her dad's like, oh, she should do this for the boy that she loves. And so that's where I'm at. I'm loving this. I'm a little nervous because Bree said that I'm not going to like it because I'm not a cozy fantasy girly and that the first part is really good and then the second half really drags. And so I'm a little scared. But like, I really want to love it because of all the stuff that everybody said in that intro that you just watched. So I don't know. I'm going to have to make my own informed decision. But I'm loving it right now. Hopefully I will read a lot more of it today. And I'll check in with you soon. Time to update you on Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm currently 30% into this book. I have been reading it for the last day or two. I got the audio off of Hoopla, thank God, because the audio, 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. The narration, the different voices, like everything, loving this. So I will say, when I first started reading this, I was obsessed. Like 30, 40 pages in, I was obsessed. I was living my best life. This is Princess Bride, Buttercup, like the narration, like the way that the audio, fantastic. Then we had like 20, 30 pages where I was like, oh no, I'm starting to reconsider my life. Maybe this is not for me. It is a cozy fantasy. I do not have a good record with cozy fantasy because of Legends and Lattes, the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'm just not a cozy fantasy girly. But then we got back on track. And so it's like, I'm interested in certain parts of this book, but not interested in others. I guess it really just depends when certain characters come about. Like Huck the Rat, totally here for. Other characters, not as much. So, and then I found out who was actually narrating the book, and that was really interesting. I was not expecting that. So yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I wouldn't say that it's giving me that 5-star feeling right now. Like right now it's feeling more like a 4, but we're just going to have to see what develops. I am on part 4. So my plan from here on out is to try to update you at all of the different parts. I think part 1 was just like her, you know, Charlie getting taken and her deciding she was going to go after him. And then part 2 to 3 was what happened to her as soon as she left the island. And then part 3 was her actually joining the pirate ship and like deciding she's going to help the crew and then find Charlie. And now part 4 is where she's going to help the pirate crew and then she's going to find Charlie. And so that's where we're at currently. But yeah, it's really fun. Like I'm telling you, if you're going to read this, please read it with the audiobook. Like I don't see a way in which you would enjoy this book without the audio, quite honestly. But yeah, I also really love that they do have a picture of Tress for us in the beginning, which is like super pretty. So I will update you when we get to part 5, which I think is about 70, 80 pages from here. And we'll see if my thoughts have changed since then. Hello, friends. I just got to part 5 of Tress, so I am 51% into this book, and something did just happen that kept me intrigued, so I'm interested in continuing. I'm telling you, this book just flip-flops back and forth. I'm either absolutely loving it, loving everything that I'm reading, or I just couldn't give a rat's booty. So Zelda, be quiet. My dog is being very loud. Also, I just got back from a wedding, so that is why I'm in this attire. But anyway, I'm going to try and get to part 6. I don't even know how long that is, and see what I'm thinking. But it's still seeming to be like a 4-star right now. We will see. But something did happen in her journey that I'm quite intrigued by. So let's get to a reading. Hello, friends. This is my last update before I finish this book. I am on part 6, which I think is the last one, and I'm on about page 290 out of 360, so I have a little over 70 pages left. And I don't know, there was a whole part of part 5 that I was extremely bored at, and the last part I was interested in because there was a dragon. So we're finally actually getting to the whole point of this book, which the whole point of this book is that she's on her way to save the man she loves, and we're finally actually getting to that part in like the last 20%. And Miss Ma'am is getting mad that I turned her show off, so I'm going to put it back on. But let's see. Right now, I'm feeling a 3.5. We will see. I'm here to say that I gave this book 3.5 stars. I know, it is not a 5-star. It kind of did drag towards the end, although I did like the ending. It did redeem itself. Honestly, I had a very fun, whimsical time with this book, and I still loved the narration. Like, the audiobook, if you're going to read this without the audiobook, you might as well not. Like, this was still a fun, adventurous, nautical time. It just wasn't, I don't know. I mean, it was a cozy fantasy, I will say that, but it was one that I still enjoyed, and I would still widely recommend this. And I still also understand why people love this book. Like, I'm understanding why people are loving all of these best books. Like, they are very well written books. Like, none of the books that I've read are poorly crafted. And I mean, it's Brandy Sandy, so he's not going to craft a bad book. I still had a good time with this. I don't even know what really about it I didn't like, but it was just fine. It was a good time. It did what it needed to do, and that's all I really have to say on this topic. I think it was fine. I know there's people out there that think I'm crazy, but I think it was just fine, okay? It was just fine. So let's move on to another probably just fine book. Another cozy fantasy with
Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett.
This is a historical fantasy, and I don't want to say romance because it's not all that romancy, but that was one of the best parts of it. So yeah, I guess it's a historical fantasy romance, and it's also very cozy.
Not a big epic fantasy, kind of scholarly, a little more character driven.
It definitely gives off Veronica Speedwell vibes.
It's as if Veronica Speedwell had a romance with Howl from Howl's Moving Castle, written by Holly Black. That is the vibes of this series.
This was such a delight.
I loved this book so much.
The series is following Emily Wilde.
We follow this Cambridge scholar who studies fae and fairies.
She is an expert in fairy lore and their culture and all sorts. So this is a world where fairies really exist.
And she's building this encyclopedia of fairy lore.
This is like the notebook that she is keeping while she's there. So she's writing down her findings. She's talking about her interactions with Wendell and the townfolk.
Who goes on a journey to a small town in order to work on her research.
Emily isn't necessarily like a traditional heroine. She's coming at learning about the fae from a very academic standpoint, which I thought was really interesting and a really cool take.
Our main character is a little bit socially awkward, which makes her quite charming, in my opinion.
Someone who does not like people. She really doesn't like social interactions. She's perfectly fine with just working and ignoring everyone around her.
When she gets there, she's having to kind of like interact with the people of the town.
She is not the most charming person or personable individual. So when she goes to meet and learn from these townspeople about their local fairies, they don't really want to interact with her.
She commits a little bit of a social faux pas by not accepting help or gifts from the people who live in the village, and so she insults them, and then after that they do not want to work with her, and she really needs them in order to do her research.
Much to Emily's annoyance, at some point her kind of department rival shows up.
Wendell Bambleby. At first you can't really tell if he actually likes her and wants to be her friend or if he's trying to weasel into her work. They have worked together for a while. He gets on her ever-loving nerves. He's very charismatic.
The life of the party.
He's getting to know the villagers. He's always under her feet.
Everyone just immediately likes him, which does end up helping her with her research.
And he decides to tolerate his presence anyway because she is convinced that he actually is a fairy himself. So her ulterior motivation to tolerating him and letting him collaborate with her is that she'll be able to have a better intimate understanding of fairies by literally working alongside a fairy.
They're solving mysteries, getting into trouble, all in the name of research. Emily is so determined to learn about the fairies that she will get into kind of any situation.
And she realizes that maybe she has feelings for him.
What I did enjoy is that the fae in this are not all warm and cozy and cute. Some of them are very evil, and so I really enjoyed the way that Heather Fawcett did this.
Love the footnotes in this book because it makes everything seem so just academic and real, because the footnotes would be referencing this other like piece of fairy research that somebody in this world has done, and it just made everything feel like it actually happened.
I love Wendell's perspective as well, because Wendell does not think that they are enemies. He thinks that they are besties. And that was really, really fun to read about.
Author crafts these very vivid scenes that are just so magical and have this underlying tone and feeling of dread throughout the entire thing that I'm just really impressed.
The dynamic between the two characters is so delightful to read. Their personalities balance each other really well. They bicker with each other a lot, but at the same time you can tell he really respects her and admires. Notice how he never has to brag that he has a big D. It's all about showing, not telling.
And I'm just obsessed with
It was just perfect to me. I loved it.
Trust me, you will not regret reading this.
Hello friends, giving you an update because I started Emily Wilde, and no, I'm not going to look at you while I'm driving, so just be chill, okay? Be chill. But basically, I'm only about 15% into this book, and I don't like it. But you know what? I'm not surprised because it's a cozy fantasy. And if we've learned anything about Rainey, I don't like cozy fantasy because I didn't like Legends and Lattes. And I didn't like, what was it? The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Well, I kind of liked that one. I did like House in the Cerulean Sea, but that was the only one that has worked for me. I wouldn't say I loved Tress of the Emerald Sea. I really enjoyed it, but it's not like, that is just not my go-to thing. And so, of course, this is another cozy fantasy. But it's the writing that's really sending me in this. Like, it's just hard to follow. I hate the footnotes. I get they're supposed to be all philosophical and analytical and make you feel like she's insanely smart. And, like, I get that. Like, she's a research girl. She's a Cambridge scholar. Like, I get it. But it's just not for me. I'm gonna keep reading it because I want to give it more of a chance because I'm only like 50 pages in. I haven't even met Wendell Bamblebee yet, which is like the romance interest. So I'm interested, okay? But I'm not that interested because this book is kind of boring me. And I feel like the way it's headed right now, if it doesn't pick up, it's gonna be a 2.5 to 3 star. So let's see. Y'all, this not looking good. I'm on page 110. I'm officially 35% into this book. I do not like it. I don't like the writing. It's very hard for me, honestly, to understand unless I'm actively reading the book, like, in front of me. And I'm very saddened by this because I really, 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 really wanted to love this book. Like, I think I'm enjoying this book less than Project Hail Mary, and that is saying something. So, I don't know. I'm gonna finish this because, like, I want to know how it goes and I want to see if, like, they can grow on me. But I do not care a lick for a single person in this story. I don't care a lick. Okay. All right. I'll update you hopefully with better news, but it's not hopeful. So, friends, I'm doing my hair while I give you this update. But I just want to say that I finished Emily Wilde. Or did it finish me, is what I'm going to say. I'm scared to give you this rating, but honestly, if you're a true OG Rainy person, then you already know what I'm going to give it. And it's a 2.5 stars. I know. There, I said it. Why is it not a 3? Because, like, a 3 is a book that, like, I may not have enjoyed. I still appreciate why people get it. And I still had some enjoyment from reading it. Like, it wasn't, like, the worst thing I've ever read. I had no enjoyment reading this, honestly, because half the time I was confused by what was going on. And, like, there was one point where I was listening to it on audio, and I definitely skipped a major part or missed a major scene that happened. And then all of a sudden they were saying stuff, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I had to, like, go back in the audio and find where I missed it, and then went, oh, yeah, no, I definitely was not paying any attention, which means I didn't enjoy this book if I missed something that severe. Because it was something pretty significant to the plot. So I did not like it. Now, I will say I get why people like this, because like it is a fun book, and like I like the banter between Wendell and her. However, it just didn't work for me. The writing didn't work for me. The plot, like I'm not a cozy fantasy girly. I don't know why I keep trying to force myself to be. I don't know why I keep going into these books with unrealistic expectations. It never works out for me. I just didn't like it, and I'm sad that I didn't like it, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Which is not great, because I just really, really wanted to like this book, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. But we're going to move on. We're going to live our best lives and get really excited for the last 2 books that are coming, because I actually get to read books that I enjoy, and we're going to knock it off with a bang by reading
Reckless by Miss Elsie Silver.
Was this book 4 in the Chestnut Springs series?
This is Theo's story, and this one's actually single parent, accidental pregnancy, like all the tropes I don't usually love, but the way Elsie did it, ate it up.
When I tell you that Miss Elsie Silver delivered that trope, chucked it in my face, ate it up with no crumbs, so good.
Small town Canadian cowboy romance series. And boy did I not think I would love Canadian cowboys as much as I do. But ye fucking ha. Save a horse, ride a cowboy, I'm all about that. Especially Mr. Theo Silva, this cowboy.
It takes place in Chestnut Springs.
This one is about Winter and Theo. Theo is a bull rider, and he is the protege of the hero from book 1, who's also a bull rider. And the heroine in this one is the sister of the heroine from book 1, whose name was Summer, and this is Winter.
Winter is this prickly heroine. She's kind of accused of being a stick in the mud. She never has fun.
You see her in the other books, and she's a bitch. Let's be totally honest. Like, nobody likes her. She's really mean.
Theo is playboy, bull rider, just ladies' man, does not take life too seriously. These two meet at the beginning of the book when I believe they're going to a Eaton family dinner. Winter and Summer are trying to repair their relationship, so she goes. She sees Theo.
She's like, screw it. You know what? I'm getting divorced. It's rough out here. I'm gonna have some fun. They have a one-night stand. I'm never gonna say anything about it afterwards.
And what you know, Winter gets pregnant.
She tries to reach out to Theo.
He goes on tour for bull riding.
And in a communication error, she thinks that Theo doesn't want anything to do with the baby, with her.
He doesn't know. She thinks he knows, he doesn't know.
And so she goes and she has a baby and she raises it by herself.
He comes back and she has her baby. He is so in love with this child and so angry that he missed out on the birth and missed out on so many things and so in love with Winter.
When Theo found out that Winter has gone through a pregnancy by herself, had a baby by herself, and he finally gets to meet this child, Elsie Silver wrote that particular scene in such a way that you could not help but be moved by it. It was just so beautiful and so just like you felt for everything. Like everything made sense and what led to this moment.
This man jumps right in. It's like, what do you need? Let me help you. Go take care of you. I've got our daughter.
He is this person who will actually show her love and give her the time and attention and care that she deserves, that she doesn't think she's worthy of.
Theo needed someone that didn't need him to be a jokester and happy all the time and could just be there for him. And Winter needed to learn to trust people, but also not have someone that needed something from her and didn't need her to be strong all the time.
See a lot of myself in Winter. I love an Ice Queen and how he didn't want to change her. He just wanted to love her and it was amazing.
He changes so much in this book. I honestly love it. Like her character development is amazing. Theo just understands Winter so well. He sees her so well. That man definitely went to therapy. I'm telling you right now.
But gosh darn it, do I love a golden retriever boy.
Theo Silver, gorgeous, amazing. I just think he is an absolute cutie pie.
Theo being a bull rider, I was like, this man's so sexy and I loved this book.
Theo can get it, he can get it.
This is one of my favorite books ever, literally.
I just love this book. It was fabulous.
I just really enjoyed it and I adore the series.
Hello friends, once again on the comfort of my couch, and I need to come to you with an update for Reckless because I'm 40% in and I will not give you an update if I don't update now. This book is already a 5-star. This is going to be the best book of the vlog. I am obsessed with this book. It is my favorite of the series and I really loved Heartless. That was on my top book. This book is everything. So as we already know, it's an accidental pregnancy, right? Theo Silva. Oh my gosh. He is a gentleman. He hops right in. He is so sweet. He does everything for her. He loves Winter in the way that she really deserves to be loved. I have no criticism on this book. I cannot wait to see how it finishes. I just love this book. It is making me feel all the feels. It is so sweet, so tender-hearted. I am actually enjoying an accidental pregnancy trope. Who would have thunk it? Miss Elsie Silver, you are doing something right with this book. You get me in my pumpkin shirt supporting my friend's band, the Joy Traders. And then you also get an update on Reckless. This book wrecked me. I did not cry because, you know, I don't cry at books. I'm a cold-hearted, like, child. I don't know. I'm cold-hearted. But anyway, I finished this book pretty much all today. This book was fantastic. Best book I've read this year. Best book. Gonna be on the top 10. Probably even the top 5. Mr. Theo Silva. The ladies love him. He is the best book boyfriend I've ever seen. He is fabulous. And I love how well him and Winter work together. I feel like Winter had so much growth in this book. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. This book was great, wasn't it, Lincoln? Uh-huh. It was great. Now, hold on. So, this is definitely the best book that I've read thus far. I still have to read Powerless, so we're going to see if that tops it. But honestly, I don't see anything topping this book. If you have not started the Chestnut Spring series, I highly recommend you do so. A lot of people say that Flawless is not that great. Keep going. I loved Flawless if I'd started. But Heartless and Reckless, masterpieces, fabulous. I could just gush on this forever and ever how much I loved this book. It was so sweet and so... And the steam was steaming, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, we're done with this one. We're going to start off our last book, which is going to be...
Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And I literally still think about this book to this day. Like, I literally think about it every single day. You want to think Hunger Games vibes, but also, like, these people, these two protagonists, they are bound to each other. Like, they are bound. And their communication, their banter, their thoughts are just incredible. And something really tragic happens. It's so beautiful. And it was it was literally a 7 stars in my eyes. It's above a 6. The end of this book, and then the little peeking through the bloody first chapter of the second book. When I read the first chapter of the second book, I just chucked it. I was like, no! And I started crying, and I was like, oh. Peyton and Kai, I want to be like them. I want that. I want this in my life. I just don't want a war. I don't want to live a part of like trials like they do in the Hunger Games. And then this book, it was, yeah, it's a bit scary. I don't want to do that, but loved reading it. Loved my experience reading it. And I read that in like 2 days, and I just loved it so much.
Hello, friends. I feel like all my updates are on my couch right now, but you know what? That's where I'm reading. I am home today because Linky has pink eye, and so he is not allowed to come home. And so I figured, why not utilize that and get some more reading done so that this book series can come out on Sunday instead of Wednesday. So I'm currently on Powerless because this is the last book, second to last book that I have, but it's the bigger of the two, so it's 500 pages. And I am about 68 pages in. I am loving this. Oh my gosh, I am so glad I'm finally enjoying one of these. I knew I was going to love this, like I just knew, but I wasn't sure. Since I didn't really get an explanation of what this was about in the girl in Charlotte's video, basically this is about the elites, and they basically kind of do a Holocaust situation where they execute and banish the people that are born ordinary. And Peyton Gray is a girl that's an ordinary, posing to be a psychic so that she can live like the elites do, and if she gets caught, like, she could be sentenced to death. But then she accidentally saves one of the princes in the elite from getting, I guess, jumped or hurt or whatever, and so she ends up getting sent into the purging trials, which I don't even know what that is. I feel like it's like Hunger Games-esque, a brutal competition for the elites, and if she doesn't die, then that's great, but also she's starting to have feelings for the prince, and so there's that whole deal. I'm loving this. Loving this. I love that it's dual perspective between Kai, the prince, and Peyton, the girl. I'm just I'm living my best life over here. We're finally actually enjoying a book. So I will update you in just a bit. Hello friends, I am currently diamond painting, so I figured I would give you an update while I'm listening to Powerless, because if I don't give you an update now, I am never going to update, because I am loving this book. Loving it. I am almost 60% in. I am hooked. I love Kai. I love, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? What is her name? Her friend's name is Adina. Peyton. I love Peyton. I also really love Kit, although I don't know if I'm supposed to like Kit or not, because I don't know if he's going to be an evil king like his dad was. And I found out something that I was like, oh damn, no wonder Peyton wants revenge. This book is so good. I stand them. They are so cute. I do wish I had more information on the purging, like why. Like, I feel like I've gotten information about their world and like how it works and the caste system essentially, but I don't feel like I've gotten enough. So I would love more information on that. But I am loving this moment. Kai taking care of her taking care of him, them sharing their secrets to each other, just like living their best lives in the middle of this freaking trials where they're supposed to, like, I guess, off each other in order to survive. Because, like, he has to win because he's the king's assassin. And so he kind of has to win this whole thing. And so, like, he knows that, like, she can't win it too. I'm just obsessed. I'm just going to say. Kelsey and Brittany are going to love this next month when they read it in February for their book club. If they don't, I'll be sad, but I'm definitely finishing this book today because I am obsessed with it. And I am so glad that we are having one freaking book that I am actually enjoying, because I was about to be very, very upset. Y'all, I can't with this banter. He literally said that she asked him what his favorite color was, and he said he didn't know a color worthy of it until he stared into her ocean blue eyes. I love this book. I love this book. It's so good. Sorry for the lighting, but I wanted to update this right now when I actually finished the book, because it's after school and like I have 30 minutes before I had to go home, and I've already done my grades and stuff for the week, so I figured I'd jump on and share that I just finished Powerless. 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. And the ending to this, like what happened, was so sad. And then the very ending, the cliffhanger that Miss Roberts left us on, and I have to wait until July for Reckless. No. Plus there was a bonus chapter in here of Kai's perspective from like the really insane thing that happened at the end, and I was like, my heart for Kai. It was so good. It was so good. Now, can I say that this is a perfect fantasy romance? No. Because honestly, they never really explained why the purging and the trials are happening. There was never a legit explanation for why this is happening. There was like a lot of world building in the beginning and then like nothing throughout the rest. And honestly, it like kind of felt like there were definitely plot holes in this, okay? Like there were plot holes. Their romance was kind of insta-lovey, as most YA books are. It was very slow burn, like so slow burn. I think they maybe kissed once in this book, which like is fine with me, but there are definitely like its issues, okay? Like you can tell this is the debut. You can tell like there's stuff wrong with it. But honestly, she wrote insanely well for having this be a debut book, and I was hooked the whole entire time. Like I was living, loving, laughing, crying in this book, okay? It was so good. I cannot wait to read the sequel. I'm going to read it as soon as it comes out because I have to know what happens to Kai and Kit and Peyton. I have to know all of the things. There were some very sad moments in here, okay? This book, it was all vibes. I'm so happy that I read this. It is so good. I need to read it again so I can annotate it, because there are definitely things I want to annotate in this book. I'm so very happy. And so with that, we finally have 2 5 stars in this vlog. Like, who would have thunk that we went from like 3 and 2.5 stars all the way to 5 at the end of this little extravaganza together. Okay, yes, you are seeing me in the same outfit that I wore when I finished talking about Reckless, because Reckless was technically the last book that I read, even though I talked about Powerless after that. I didn't read the books in order. It is what it is, okay? Anyway, I'm here to close out this amazing vlog and say I had an interesting time. And do I agree with the top 5 books that I read? I understand why they were all there. So I would agree. They are probably the best books. They were just not all the best books for me. If I was going to rank them, this is my order. So obviously we have Emily Wilde at the bottom, which was 2.5 stars. Project Hail Mary, 3 stars. Tress of the Emerald Seed, 3.5 stars. Powerless, 5 stars. And Reckless, 5 stars. Honestly, this is more like 6-star territory if we're really getting personal. This is a lower 5-star, just all vibes. And this was actually a quality book. And so I had a fabulous time from like here up, and then it kind of dipped, but nothing was below, like, it was not 2-star territory and below, okay? So I will accept that. I had a good time reading these. I had a fun time making this video. I hope you made it to the end of this video. I also discovered some really amazing new book people, like Khalilah D is a new channel I'm going to be watching, Tatyana Vogt, Danni, of course, I love, Katie is reading, Seasons readings. I met so many amazing people by watching their videos. So I have mentioned and linked to all of these people's channels underneath. Please go give them love and support. Please go and subscribe to all their channels. I know that I have, and I cannot wait to make this video again next year. If you got to the end of this video, let's put a horse emoji for Reckless, because that was my favorite one. And tell me, have you read any of these? Do you agree with these? Let a girl know. And with that, I'll see you in a video very, very soon. Bye.